Hello there everybody, it's Saban92 Nightmare, and I apologize for the wait, but we are finally back to RB Axolotl. Well, little Neo's been having himself a bit of a problem, hasn't he? And I'm a little bit worried about his actual mental health, but we did learn one thing. It seems like the plants are able to regrow, which technically means that they can make some resources. But I still think that maybe Neo kind of went a little overboard. Which is unfortunate. Now then, it had begun as a simple daily distraction from research. But them playing together, which is actually good, I would imagine. An hour a day, a welcome break to check in with the other two residents of the tank, and maybe play a couple games with them. But that hour soon evolved into 2, into 3, into 4, and even more as the days began to pass. Their game sessions started becoming more fun, more competitive, and somehow the days themselves started to seem brighter as a result. Alright, I almost had you there, Lana. Just one more round. This time I'll definitely come out victorious. The days passed by leisurely. The more fun they had during the day, the quicker it seemed to pass. As their games became more energetic, competitive, and complex, Neo began wanting to create some of his own. He wanted to create something from his memories. Something which could be used to play a multitude of games. His books had reminded him that this item had existed. Okay, if we cut this pile of plants into identical squares and assign markings to each piece, we can make a standard deck of 52 cards. Then, all of a sudden, our game options are quadrupled, at the very least. Finally, I can whoop your butt at cards, too! Soon enough, they began to dabble in more than just playing games together. They started to use the plants in more exciting, innovative ways. What if we make some more of these in different colors and place them on the west end of the tank? Give the tank a little more color. Eventually, Neo started thinking of recreational things he wanted to do with the plants in his spare time, too. Inventions, walkways, banners, word art, the whole world, which now seemed so bare, was suddenly his canvas. Since the plants were essentially endless in number, he could see in his mind's eye a wide array of possibilities for every single section of the tank. But it wasn't as though Neo had forgotten about the messages, about the void, home, or about RB. I am cornered, though. I've run out of options for now. I'll just bide my time until an idea hits me. While the discovery of a renewables resource initially seemed promising, nothing had worked out like he had hoped. Everything he immediately wanted to test using the plants had been tested, and now all that was left was to observe their growth patterns. There were times he regretted telling off RB in front of Ink, and there were other times that he regretted telling Axie and Lana about the riddle. But come game time, none of that seemed to matter so much. Why don't we expand our workspace a little? We've got the entire tank to work with as territory. However amazing the day was, the middle of the night often brought back those cold existential nightmares. Feelings of never being able to return. Feelings of complacency, of giving up. The pointlessness of this life he was now living. And something like that, there's no way it would fly in his mind. That damn void always stood in the center of the tank, taunting him, making fun of him. Sometimes he could hear it speaking to him. I see you there, Joe. Watching and waiting. You want to jump in, don't you? I know. What are you afraid of? Axie can swim in here just fine. He can, but Axie had vehemently refused. Vehemently. It was still too touchy of a subject to bring up. He's the only lead I have. Convincing him to donate some skin was out of the question. Sending him into the void? Impossible. Right now, at least. The more I think about it, the less options I seem to have. Just remember, there's no rush, Neo. There's no ticking time bomb dictating our lives here. And there's certainly nothing wrong with spending time with your friends. But then, why did it feel so uncomfortable to be unproductive? Eesh, even taking it easy, he needs to take it easy. The connection. Today was a special day of sort of day. Westward expansion was in full effect. They were pleased with all the work they'd done in Lana's corner. So, they decided to move on to laying down groundwork for several new large-scale projects around the tank. All of their supplies, all of their tools, everything they had set up so far was on the right side of the tank. So it only made sense that the first area they would focus their efforts on beautifying would be the area next to their home base, Liam's old corner.
Is this really okay? What if he somehow comes back? I've still got hope, you know? It hasn't been forever just yet.
Hey, it's not like we're planning on demolishing this place. We're just gonna spruce it up is all. And besides, maybe he'd even like our changes if he came back. Though I can't be sure of that, of course.
I agree with the egghead. He'd adore our changes. And hey, if he really comes back and doesn't dig it, then we can just tear it all down. Boom, boom, bang, bang. We'll smash it all down like a piñata on Groundhog's Day. What? Yeah, I guess. Something doesn't feel right. We talked about it a little bit before, but what if instead of decorations, we use this part of the tank to make a tribute for him instead? We've got the whole rest of the tank for some of the other plans that we've been discussing, haven't we?
You know, Lana, gotta be honest, I really like the sound of that. A tribute for our fallen friend is a nice gesture.
That's a beautiful idea. Ah, man, oh man, my mind is running on all cylinders now. I know, our tribute is gonna be huge. With fully animatronic arms and a head that bows and shoots water at every hour on the dot.
What?
Well, I don't know about all that. How about we start a little smaller and make a statue of him instead? The point of it is, I don't want to forget him. I don't want to forget the way he looked or the way he acted. I don't want to forget him. No matter what. And if he had a tribute here, we could visit him whenever we'd want. Whenever we had something on our minds to say to him.
Yeah, that would be nice. There's been a few things on my mind lately that I wish I could have said to him while he was here.
And don't worry about running out of space. There's plenty of room for all sorts of wacky gizmos, buildings, and whatever else all around the tank.
Oh, trust me, I've been thinking the same thing.
So...
a tribute it shall be. If only... so we'll never forget.
Hey, if you want to never forget, all we have to do is make him huge.
Axie's expression suddenly faltered.
I miss him too, you know. A lot. I never really knew how much until recently. It felt like we were only just starting to know each other.
Still don't know enough about what he and Ank were in their past lives, though.
If there was a way we could have spent more time together, I'd take an opportunity like that in a heartbeat. Aw, Axie. Never knew. So, I guess it's settled then. A nice big statue.
Well, if we want to make it a full structure, and not a simple decoration, then it could take years.
Well, the best part is that we have years. Heck, until someone tells us otherwise, we've had forever. Remember, there's no rush.
You're right. Okay then, first things first. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
There's an elephant?
What are we going to do with the rock?
Well, of course we can't get rid of the rock. We agreed on no major reconstruction, remember?
In many ways, all of them, the rock was the last part of Liam remaining. They had even buried his arm, the one Ank had ripped off under the soil here. The fact that they still had his arm. Jesus. I got it. What if we incorporated the rock into the design of our statue? It's theoretically possible to make the vines from the base of the tribute stick out from under the rock. In my humble opinion, it might create a pretty cool effect.
I love it! We'll put some plants underneath and then start building the base of the mold right away.
We could even start on that part today. Of course, you know, there is a small hiccup to this plan. In order to incorporate the rock in our design, we'll have to lift it up off the ground. That might seem like an impossible task, but you are dealing with a genius here. I've been thinking of how to deal with problems like these. And for that, we need to make use of the forces of gravity. You can make a gravity chamber? Leverage. We need leverage, my friends. Neo took them to the drawing board in his lab to explain his plan in detail. And so, for the next 2 days, they tied plans together to make the harness idea, which he told them about, a reality.
Hey, I think it's ready. It's ready. Finally, it's ready.
Yeah, and it's a real beaut, too. If it really lifts the rock, then perhaps we could use the harness for other tasks in our reconstruction, too. Or construction, sorry. Alright, are you guys ready? When I lift this rock up, you guys are going to place the tide row of plants below, just like we planned, okay? You know, Goddamn spaghetti. The only thing I'm really worried about is if they lift this thing, like, all the water will drain out. That's just a thought that I kind of had come into my mind, honestly.
I'm ready, spaghetti head. Egghead.
What?
I'm ready too. Just remember to be careful, you guys.
I agree. Safety first. Okay, last call. You're all in position? Then I'm pulling on the lever. The rock rose from its perpetual spot for the first time ever. Go, guys! Go, go, go! It's secure. Lay down the foundation. What's the holdup? What are you guys staring at?
Neo, there's something down here. Oh, let me grab this thing. Huh? What is it, Axie?
Something was under the rock after all this time? Alright, move out of the way. I'm putting the lid down. So, what sort of thing did you find? It looks like a helmet of some sort.
This has to be a video game!
Of all things I was expecting, this was not one of them. VR WOM, are you kidding me? Let me see it.
Wait your turn, Egghead. Let's just put this baby on and... Ooh, snuggly. It even grew in size, apparently. Alright, so what do we have here? Boot and... log in. Huh? Well, obviously the password is... Password must be peanut butter. What? That wasn't it? Who the heck doesn't like peanut butter?
I know, travesty. Unless they're allergic to peanuts, in which case you're spared.
What's this big red message? 4 login attempts remaining. Huh?
Axie, let me see that. Hand it over now.
Actually, I think this thing might be more Neo's specialty. Do you peons really think you can outclass the video game champion Axie the Axolotl? Alright, I can sense that expression. Here you go, Egghead.
Finally! This must be the answer I've been waiting for. After all this time, it's really here. I've got to go to the lab. Examine this thing in full. Just like that, as though it were the flick of a light switch, Neo left their company in full-blown research mode.
No, Lana, it's really not fair. We all found it, not just him. That darn egghead better not be playing any video games without me. Oh boy, I can't wait to bomb some Dodongos.
You had to make that reference, and you had to remind me about Zelda CDI. You just... Oh boy, I can't wait to bomb some Dodongos. God. You just had to remind me of the Zelda CDI, didn't ya?
Or defeat Dr. Robotnik.
Or say Planet Pup Stars. That one I don't get.
Heck, maybe I'll become the Puyo's Puzzles champion.
That one I get.
What do you think, Lana? I just get worried is all. I don't want him falling down that lonely rabbit hole of his again.
Why not join him in his lab? Whoa! Hello! Let me just, I'm gonna save it right there. I don't care if it's file 5, I skipped 2, 3, 4. This is a special file. Judge me. In the end, this is all there is. Huh. A plain login screen and a keyboard to input a password. Nothing more. It's a good find. An important find. That has to help me achieve my goal. But there simply isn't much to do in this thing. And not unless I want to risk entering a password. He needed to take action. 4 attempts remaining. He didn't own the tools to take apart the headset, although he reckoned that with a little elbow grease, doing that might not be impossible. For fear of accidentally breaking it, he wanted to make sure all of the options he had available to him were accounted for first. Hope this thing doesn't run out of juice. But something tells me that those rules don't apply here either. I guess I should try entering a password. Perhaps, could it be... let me try home. No, that wasn't it. Did I just waste a valuable opportunity? 3 attempts left. I should proceed with much more caution from this point onwards. Who knew what would happen if he ran out of login attempts? I might be locked out of the headset for good.
Or it could explode!
Oh god, what the hell? Oh, Axie. Hey.
Hiya.
Hiya there, Egghead. You didn't show up today, so I thought I'd stop by and check in on you. But to think you were playing video games the whole time! And you didn't share with me. Shame.
Oh, not playing video games, Axie. Researching. Trying to figure out what the hell this thing is.
It's a video game! What else do you need to figure out?
The password, for one.
Let me try. I bet it's somersault.
You already gave it a try before, remember? And I just did too. From now on, we need to be really careful with our guesses.
Well, we all found it, right? Shouldn't we all have a turn at putting in the password?
That is... well... that's fair, I suppose.
I don't need to put in a password. I couldn't even venture to guess what a theoretical password might be. To a random virtual reality headset we found under a rock. So, don't worry about me.
Oh, Lana, you're here too, huh?
Yeah, it is past the time we normally meet after all. What else would I be doing?
My bad. Well, okay, alright then, let's go. I've been examining this thing all day, and I pooped. I'll think of something later. Right now, it's time to have some fun with my friends.
Really?
Yeah, it's not like I'll get anything meaningful accomplished by just staring at some login screen all day. The weird snow in the background is kind of pretty, though, I must admit.
Hooray!
Actually, the harness is still set up in the same place as yesterday, right? Well then, I think we should finish what we started. Make sure we get the vines under the rocks so we can start doing the nitty-gritty work on the tribute.
I'm proud of you, Neo. It sounds like you're starting to find a healthy work-life balance.
Took him long enough. Like you said, this headset isn't going anywhere, and neither am I. But actually, you have to promise me not to fiddle with it behind my back. Doing stuff like inputting weird passwords without consulting me. According to this, there are only 3 tries left to us, so I want to be very deliberate with the guesses from now on.
Oh yeah, no worries, Egghead. But you definitely gotta let me know if you got any game working on there.
Yeah. Well, shall we head off? I just need to put this in a safe place first. As they left, the only thing Lana could do was smile from ear to ear. Her fears of Neo succumbing to the madness of his obsession again were for naught. As the weeks turned into months, her smile got brighter and brighter. Till the day that the void started rumbling. The dynamic of the tank was changed yet again. Oh, goody. I swear anytime the void comes up, it always starts ruining shit.
The babies.
After the VR fiasco, several months passed without issue. Work resumed on the tribute. Progress was leisurely, but nobody could deny that the statue was starting to resemble Liam more and more each day. When they weren't working, they'd spend their time collaborating. They were on a roll, creating board games and card games of every shape, every genre, and every size. Frequently, they would take the time to enjoy the fruits of their labor, playing against each other in a competition and bouncing ideas off each other of future projects they wished to make. The contrast between playing and construction felt refreshing. It made their days have a spark of variety that was sorely missing from before. A day could start with them doing one thing, and then completely transform into them doing something totally different by the end. Organically, a new tradition started emerging as well. They began gathering during the night and reading each other's stories from the numerous books which Neo kept in his lab. As for the VR login screen, no progress was made on that front. Neo had long pages of notes of possible passwords and various ideas he wished to try out in the future, but frankly, he didn't have enough confidence to act on any such plan yet. Eventually, he would have enough confidence to try out something, and like Lana said, there was no indication that he needed to rush out an answer. Until then, it looked like things were going well. The 3 of them had found a rhythm, and they meant to keep it. But the void had something to say about that. It was on this day, in the 2nd year of their not yet finalized calendar, that something totally unexpected occurred. That very afternoon, Neo was explaining the rules of an intricate tabletop game he wished to play in the future with everyone. Almost ready to start our adventure. Just 3 more character sheets left to fill out, you guys. It's not good. At first, he thought he might have been hearing things again. He was obsessed for so long, there was still a part of him that yearned to go home more than anything. Sometimes while he was resting in his lab, he'd wake up in a cold sweat, thinking he had heard the rumblings of the void. But the sound had been an illusion these past 2 years. A trick played by the mind. So then, it must have been another trick this time too. But the looks on his friends' faces confirmed otherwise. That remarkable sound was something he was likely to never forget. Just like that, Neo's passion and anxiety, which had been dormant, sprang back to life. There was scarcely a word spoken as they hurried off to the void. The white lightning was raging hard again, an old specter come to life. They had not talked about what they would do if the void ever started working again. Axie and Lana had purposefully avoided the subject. Neo was fixated on the noise. He found his hands shaking against his will. It had been a normal day, a relaxing day, yet all of a sudden he was confronted with something utterly life-changing.
Something is about to happen, isn't it? Our lives were just starting to become fun. Is something really about to ruin all that?
That's why we need to be ready for anything. Enk, Liam, Abi. Anything could come out of this damned thing. Axie had his fighting stance ready. If Enk had really come back to finish him and his friends off, he would defeat him this time for good. They focused their attention on the section of the void which was rumbling most intensely. Something is seriously moving in there. It looks like something that's alive. It can't be. Oh my god, look at that little thing. The shape of an axolotl emerged from the void. No, not just one axolotl. Two. Then a third one appeared. As they came into focus, Neo realized a few important things about them. They scare me slightly with those soulless eyes. Just a little bit. Somewhat. Whoa, wait a minute. Okay, those color schemes are very concerning. He was an outlet, but completely new axolotls that he did not recognize. They were small too, with vacant eyes and plastered on expressions that reminded him of a doll. The one in the middle made a weird noise. What? What are they? Should we be worried? What are you trying to pull, Abi?
They look small and helpless. I think they might be children, Neo. Babies, even.
Axie looked unsure. He hadn't yet lowered his guard.
Hey there, kids. Can you talk? You guys have names? Eh. I'm gonna take that as a no then. Maybe they're too young to speak? Or is Rar this name?
The one to their left made an effort to swim over to them. He awkwardly shifted his eyes towards her, then to himself, and then her again.
Lily? Do you mean to say that you are...
It almost seemed to nod at that, but she wasn't sure.
This can't be Liam, can it? I mean, they are the same color. I don't know. But he sure is cute. Anyway, if this is Liam, then... Do you have a name as well?
The one to the right stepped forward. That's not... Don't believe it.
Hey, anything is possible, right?
But Enk? Him? So, what? What now? Do we lock this guy up?
He hasn't done anything! I won't stand for it. Oh, there's this guy over here, too.
If he's not the two we know, then who is he? His color is a little... slightly different. Huh.
Hiya, little dude. What was your name again? Here's a little cry? Ah, Rira is such a dang cutie.
He's trying to do a goddamn Axie face. Rira, Lee, and...
So we've got Lee, and Rira. Aren't they absolutely adorable?
But what the hell is this? Can't they say any more words?
They're babies, of course not.
Ooh, that's a new expression.
And don't cuss in front of the children. What, Yeah. Oh, he's all tuckered out. Oh, they're all tired, aren't they? Going through the void is no easy task. Aw, look at that. They're all cuddled together, sleeping. Ah, my heart is melting. Oh crap, my heart is actually melting. I need help. Ah! Oh, it's so cute. So precious. This new environment must be exhausting for the little tykes. We should whip them up a little plant blanket real quick.
So, what is this? What is Abby doing putting these guys in here? Rira made a low growling noise as he snored. What are we going to do now?
What do you mean?
I mean, what do we do with them?
Of course. We'll wait till they wake up. Then we raise them. Yeah, and if they didn't already have names, they'd be named Axie Jr., Axie Jr. the second, and Axie Jr. the third. Since they already got names, it's okay. Neo, please. They're not something you can study or experiment on. They're just children.
But there has to be some reason they showed up. It's no coincidence.
They're Ank and Liam reborn, aren't they? They must be. I hope so.
I don't know. I guess all we can do now is just wait until they wake up and see what happens.
I think we'll be waiting a little while, Egghead. These guys are completely KO'd.
Axie was right. The next time they woke up, 23 hours would have passed. Freaking babies? Was not expecting to see babies today. Huh. Surprisingly, the appearance of the three axolotl babies did not change the dynamic of their lives as much as they had initially expected. They were zero maintenance children. Oftentimes, the three adults forgot that the babies were even there. This was due to one simple thing. They slept. They slept the great lion's share of the day away. At first, Lana had been concerned. Was this another Liam type situation? Were they sick with something causing them to have massive fatigue? As time would tell, this was not the case. It was just in their nature to sleep. Lana, Neo, and Axie. All of them only slept a couple hours each night. That was all they needed. But the babies, they would cuddle together on the floor with their eyes closed for 23 hours straight at a time. That wasn't the only thing odd about their circadian rhythms. After 23 hours asleep, they would awaken, but only for a single hour. But that hour is all the time they seemed to want to be awake for, on any given day. Huh. So it's a complete opposite juxtaposition to Axie, Lana, and Neo. They barely sleep, and they're awake most of the day. These guys mostly sleep and are barely awake for the day. Huh. I guess that makes them kind of easier to manage, I would imagine. It was all their bodies seemed to take. Collapsing together into a deep slumber afterwards start the 24-hour process all over again. Huh. Massive vibrations. Their only hour awake, though. It was incredibly eventful. I was not expecting axolotl babies. They are quite adorable.
Dang! What a bunch of rambunctious, crazy kids! Reminds me of a certain special someone back during the summer of his youth. Hey, come back here, you!
Even Axie, the fastest swimmer of the adults, was unable to catch them at first, boundless as they were. In their hour, they'd zip and zoom across the whole tank at will, an uncontrollable force that resembled a hurricane. At one point, Neo decided to track their movements for a few weeks. He concluded, through various points of data, that they went around the entire tank 3 times on average during that hour. The only time they'd stop sprinting would be to eat. The 3 of them made sure to feast every day, sometimes spending up to 10 minutes of their hour doing so. What did they eat? Well, of course, they ate the plants growing right off of the floor. They only ate the plants on their own terms, though. Lana had tried a couple of times to hand them plants right out of her hand, but they always refused. Neo set up bowls of fancy-looking plant food next to the places where they rested, but when they woke up, the kids always passed them up. Eating them fresh off the tank's floor was the only way that would satisfy them. Their days were as such. Sleep, run around, eat. It's kind of the standard for most people at this point in the day. Sleep again. They lived simple lives. They didn't seem to pay Axie, Lana, and Neo any mind at all. Over the following decades, there were a myriad number of ways in which the adults attempted to bond with the kids to no avail.
Decades?
On one particular day of note, near their birth, Neo decided to sit down with them during their meal. In his hands were some notes. He'd spent a considerable amount of time the last several days writing and then rewriting them.
Attention! Lee and Rira. Today we will be starting school. Welcome to the first day of class. I'll be your teacher. Call me Mr. Neo from now on. I prepared these materials so that we could do about 10 minutes of work a day while you're eating. Doesn't that sound great? We'll start off with some very basic lessons and work our way up from there. Maybe we'll even up the lesson time to 15 minutes a day when you get acclimated to this new routine. Any questions? No? Then let's begin the first day of the rest of your lives. First of all, learning is a series of building blocks. You'll learn how to communicate and blah blah blah. Blabbity blah 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 blah. Now it's time to learn the human alpha blahs. Alpha blahs. It's what you blahs will need in order to blah. A, blah, C, blah blah blah. He was scarcely less than a fourth of the way through his song before he got interrupted. His face was green. Lee had spat a giant mound of plants at him. That kind of behavior will not be tolerated in this class. Hey, where are you going? The 3 of them sped off to eat in a different area. You were watching that? I'll leave the little cuties alone for now. They're just babies after all. They've only got an hour a day to enjoy life anyway. Maybe you can tutor them in the future. When they get older. When they start to stay up longer.
Yeah.
What's wrong, Neo?
It's nothing.
Oh, come on, tell me! No secrets between us anymore, remember?
You're right. It's just... with the headset that we found and the kids, something is going on. Why did we find them? Knowing what little I know about RB, there must be a reason. There's something I'm missing. There must be.
Sometimes I wonder as well. Why would he turn them into those 2? I don't think they're...
Oh, I don't think they're... Sorry.
Either way, the babies certainly aren't an object which you can treat as research.
I know. It's just... they came from the void. What do you think they are? Do you think they have anything to do with the headset?
Were you thinking of using their names as the password for the login screen?
Well, I don't know, but that doesn't feel right to me. There's only a couple characters we can enter, remember?
You're right. Before, I haven't given it much mind, but the more I think about it, the headset is pretty interesting, isn't it?
Really? I'm surprised to hear that from you. I thought you hated that kind of stuff.
Oh, not at all! The more I hear about the human world, the more amazing it sounds. I'd love to see it sometime. What I do hate is when you overwork yourself. When you neglect your body without even realizing it.
Yeah, but that's been better lately, hasn't it?
Absolutely it has. Like I said before, I'm so proud of your progress. That's why I want to help you with your research in any way I can.
To be frank, right now that's not a lot you can help with. The research has taken a backseat due to all the construction.
Well, if there is any way I can help you with in the future, you know where to find me. You might be right, by the way.
About what?
Well, the stuff with RB. The kids, the notes. It's all so weird. There probably is more to our existence as you surmise. Is your ultimate goal still getting home?
This tank with you guys? I've only realized it recently, but this is my home now, too.
I feel the same way. But this other home of yours is in the human world, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know what it looks like exactly, but I still want to go back there. A part of me yearns for it and likely always will. The human world is so vast compared to our little tank.
Oh, I bet it is. It's like those brilliant books we've been reading before bed. I wouldn't mind visiting some of the settings those books are based off of sometimes.
You like the books, huh? I'm glad so many of them came in before the void stopped working. Which is your favorite thus far?
Oh, definitely that short story about the rich dude, Simone Chris, and his strange alien pets. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Simone Chris, Chris?
Oh, and the mystery story we read. You know, the creepy one with a group of friends and the cicadas.
Thank you.
That was wonderful, too. I was shocked when they revealed what was happening behind the scenes. There's been a ton of good ones so far. The one that we're reading right now, the shy little bird who says, "Tinkle, tinkle, hoy," is shaping up to be a favorite of mine, too. Anyway, the triplets should be getting back to sleep soon. Aw, look over there at Axie. Aw, that goofball can't stop chasing them even though he knows he can't win. Let's catch up in a minute or two and wish them good night. Maybe we can work on the Liam Memorial for the rest of the day. We're pretty close to finishing it. Also, you should probably wipe yourself off. That green stuff's all over you.
Yeah, we are. Hey Lana, regarding that, there's an idea I've been sort of mulling over lately.
Oh? What sort of idea?
Oh, it's nothing that big. Maybe when we're done with the statue, we could have a memorial service to remember Liam by.
A memorial service? Huh. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, too. I never, ever want to forget the old Liam. Let's do it! I bet Axie would like the idea, too.
As an aside to that, I've also been working on getting a personal project together. It's a calendar, so we can keep track of time. Maybe we can use it to create our very own holidays, too. Wait. Didn't we already establish that we were going to try to make it count? Wait. So,
Our very own holidays, huh? I think I'd like that, Neo. I think I'd like that a lot.
They were starting to become happy. Really happy. After the memorial service, they began focusing on their calendar. And time began marching onward. Intermission. Oh, goody! Flowers? This long stretch of time would later be known as the Golden Age era of the tank. It was called as such due to the incredible amount of technology and architectural innovations that sprang up during this period. It was also called the Golden Age because it was the happiest time of their lives spent together. From dusk till dawn, the three of them worked and often played, themselves to the point of exhaustion frequently. Yet none of them ever complained. At the end of almost each day, they cuddled into bed together with wide smiles plastered on their faces. And without thinking about Abi too often, a couple of decades felt in retrospect as if they had passed by in the blink of an eye. But it would be remiss to say that nothing important happened in all their time together. Axie and Ankh had their original race and struggle in the second month of the year 1 AV. Ankh came back from the void, fought them all, and dragged Liam into the void in the fourth month of the year 1 AV. The next big event, finding the virtual reality headset, happened in the second month of the year 2 AV. The triplets didn't show up until the fifth month of that same year. The Liam Memorial, which had begun construction at the start of the previous year, was finally completed in the middle months of the year 3 AV. These are all key events that you have witnessed. But a lot more happened. Enough happened in that enclosed space to fill up an encyclopedia's worth of events. Now it is finally time that we accelerate to the scope of our tale. The days weren't endlessly peaceful or tranquil all the time, even in the Golden Age. Conflicts, such as the few you have seen, rose up and were resolved a number of times. But none of the conflicts were serious, and there were long stretches of the era that felt like a heavenly dream. They passed the time together in several ways. Contests and sporting events, artistry and the creation of live music. Countless nights spent under a plant-made tent, telling scary stories and fairy tales to each other, which felt like they stretched on for entire lifetimes. Much of these moments are tender personal tales. Consecutive months and even years spent singularly on enriching their lives together. Depending on the viewpoint, some of these anecdotes could be seen as sickeningly sweet if described in detail. There are some others that would argue that by describing even a little of these tales, as we soon shall, we are stomping on their personal garden. Even though their years are much shorter in length than the modern-day human Gregorian calendar, they still lived in the tank for many decades together. Such is time, in that one's personal eternity may transcend the finite nature of life. We will now attempt to contextualize the anecdotes with immediate relevance to our tale. Our reference point? The creation of their calendar, put into official motion after the memorial service they had for Liam. While they followed the outline of the calendar more or less for nearly 45 years, the details were not set in stone right from the start. Many changes were made to it. Various holidays were created and then abolished. Even the name of a whole month changed at one point. However, the number of months and the number of days, that remained exactly the same from its conception to the day of their demise. 5 months, 30 days in a month, 7 days a week, totaling 150 days per year. As Neo mentioned, unlike the human calendar, they had no constrictions like lunar cycles or Roman Judea traditions that they had any obligation to follow. This world, starting with the use of the incredibly versatile plants, became theirs almost entirely, to mold and shape in any way into which they saw fit. The only vestige that Neo decided to keep from his memories, in regards to the calendar, were the days of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But this is where the human calendar similarities ended. The three adults decided in those early days that they would each name a month themselves and organize its theme. These were the middle months of the year. The first and last months of their 5-month calendar were decided upon as a group. The first month of the year was named Hutsa, after a word they found printed in a book. The book said that the word Hutsa meant void in another language, and so they named it this in reference to the starting point. When they had come through the void, 5 of them, all those years ago. The void was the only way in and out of the tank. It was the beginning and likely to be the end of their lives. Even if it had stopped working in the way it once had, the Void still served an important purpose. And aside from each other, the Void was the only constant. If they had been a tribe, or not had knowledge of a previous world, in another scenario, they may have worshipped the Void as some sort of deity. That's why the first day of Hutsa was also the day they celebrated the first holiday of the year, Void Day. The tradition for this holiday was for each of them to take something they had made in the previous year, often something plant-based, and throw it into the Void. The idea behind this ritual was a symbolic one, a hope that the Void would bless them with another peaceful year of prosperity. Secretly, though, Neo had suggested the day in hopes that the Void would spit something out. Yet, never did. Never again. Eventually, at some point, even Neo stopped caring so much, and the day became more of a tradition of habit, rather than any sort of secret wish fulfillment. Even though they tossed things into the Void each year, certain items were forbidden, such as the notebook Neo wore across his neck. A few special books were off limits too, such as Everything, My Discovery of the Ryokosho, which at that point they had grown quite fond of reading yearly. Books which had been read so much that they had been practically memorized by the three of them were occasionally thrown in too, a one page at a time to ensure they never ran out of items. They might not have had a lot of items which weren't made of plants, but 10,000 years couldn't have passed before they would have run out of earthly items to sacrifice. But Void Day did not end with them simply throwing items into the Void. There was a celebration part of the day too, much to the delight of everyone. This celebration was mild compared to a few held throughout the year, but it did contain a lot of fancy food dishes. They didn't seem to taste like much of anything to Neo or Lana, but Axie frequently swore that the plants tasted almost as good as peanut butter. It wasn't the taste that mattered so much, but the presentation. They laid out a beautiful dining table for the occasion, complete with handcrafted miniature sculptures and silverware, before putting various plant-made delicacies on it. Mashed plants, plant grains, plant sandwiches, and usually plant popsicles or plant fudge for dessert. The party on Void Day always ended leisurely in the evening, mostly to wipe off the fatigue from Void Day's Eve, with each participant content and ready to tackle that following year. Despite being the first month of the year, they had trouble making permanent holidays for Hutsa other than the Void Day. Over the years, they experimented with special occasions, such as Racing Day, a race from one end of the tank to the other. Music-Kale, a day where they each created a song. And National Plant Dog Day. Who could eat the most plant dogs? Good question. Sadly, none of these seemed to stick around for longer than a few years. One holiday period, which did last a while, was Harvest Week. I see you friggin' pouncing around there, Axie. Don't think I don't notice you. I see you! Harvest Week was celebrated during the years 1117 to 17 AV on the 8th and the 14th of Hutsa, through 14th. During Harvest Week, they would attempt to go to the floor of the tank and gather all the plant materials they would need for the following year. This holiday was ultimately discontinued because inevitably they would run out of plants during the year and need to get more, thus making Harvest Week seem more or less pointless. And the simple joy of picking the plants from the floor was a welcome diversion in periods where they worked on some of their more complicated creations. Hutsa was generally a very peaceful time of the year. The second month of the year was named by Axie the Axolotl. His name for his month was rather aptly called Actuary. Damn it. The theme of Actuary was fun and spending each day to the absolute fullest. The first holiday of the month, on the 4th of Actuary, was one which Neo and Lana had initially tried convincing him to change or delete from the calendar. But it was his month, so they had little say on something so frivolous. Somersault Day! Wait, I can do that now. I have no complaints! Yes! Somersault Day was a day in which Axolotl would practice their best and flashiest somersaults. It ended in a grand contest where they would showcase their best moves. It took them each a couple of years, but soon enough Lana and Neo had both mastered a somersault near Axie's level of expertise. And though they would never admit it aloud, they ended up appreciating the somersaults as a simple and meditative exercise, which they sometimes ended up practicing on their own. Combining the somersault with ramps and dives, and other tricks was encouraged as the years went on, as their somersaults gradually improved as a group. I got one last one in there! As befitting of Axie the Axolotl, the second holiday of Actuary was Axie Day. It was a day devoted entirely to games, a frequent occurrence regardless. Except the difference between these days and those days and this was that on Axie Day, Axie got to choose all of his favorite games to play. As life progressed in the tank, Lana and especially Neo preferred to play more complicated games with lots of fancy rules. So Axie Day was a unique opportunity that gave them a chance to play simple old games which might have been neglected for some time. They had to stop Axie from making more holidays during this month, as he wanted lots more originally, sometimes even multiple holidays per day. As they were creating things, they decided to put a hard limit of 2 holidays per Axolotl during their own months. Oh, the third month of the year, which was created by Neo, was called Research and Development Month, or R&D for short. The theme of the R&D was to challenge their minds, innovate, and create something new that none of them had ever seen before. In R&D month, they used their brains in a way they didn't really get to the rest of the year. The crown jewel of R&D was Innovation Day, which was an event where they all worked on an original invention in secret. And at the end of the month, on the 30th, they would have a big unveiling, and each would marvel at everyone's ideas. As expected, some amazing technological developments were made during this month of the year. There was seemingly no limit to the amount of creativity that the plants fostered, along with the team of the month. Surfboards travel around the tank in style, large storage compartments full of different knickknacks, sculptures, musical instruments, games of all shapes and sizes. Eventually, even automated clockwork machines. Most of these were novelties that were only used for a few days or months after their initial unveiling. But the concepts of Innovation Day became a tried and true tradition nonetheless. One time in particular stood out. In the year 27 AV, Neo tried making a watermill that, with the power of the currents, created a form of power. He considered that project as magnum opus, and for a time it seemed to shake up the whole tank for the better, until it eventually went out of style due to the unpredictable nature of the currents and annoying upkeep. But for each cool invention they made, there were 10 that failed. There was only one other holiday to note in R&D month, and it was only celebrated 3 times, once every 5 years, until it was finally abolished early on in the year 18 AV. This other holiday was a day in which they inputted their guesses, a deadline for the culmination of research which had grown less and less important over the years. It was Neo's last hope at getting home. Each 5 years, the old VR headset was brought out, and he was reminded starkly of the riddle of Earth, the early days, the fervent research, and his original purpose. Now, this holiday didn't have an official name, but in his mind, Neo called it home. His heart got crushed twice by this holiday. Even after the holiday was eventually abolished, as the VR headset was removed from the tank, and the day became irrelevant, he was still reminded of the past during this time of the year. The description of the holiday, if you could even call it a true holiday, was simple. Get everyone together, peer into the headset, spend 2 seconds typing out a password, and press enter. Year 8. The password Neo decided to input was Alan. Error. 2 tries remaining. 5 years later, the year 13 AV. This time he decided to put in the password Rosie Hooks. A failure. The headset told him there was only 1 try left. So what happened in the year 18 AV? The moment in which Neo put in a password for the final time? This is one of the anecdotes with immediate relevance to our tale. It is time for us to pull back the curtain and witness the events that transpired on that day. 18 AV, the Kingdom of Glass. Unfortunately, that's where I'm going to have to end it. It's kind of a cliffhanger dick move on my part, but...
I am the sorcerer of the cliffs. I am known for doing cliffhangers that upset people.
I will try not to make the wait as long for part 8. Or wait, what part are we on? We're on part 7 right now, right? Are we? Okay, I'm going to, yeah, I'm definitely going to try to make sure that I get another episode up next week this time, rather than having it be like a 2-week thing. It's just that time has been escaping me quite often lately. But I will try to keep up on the uptake this time. So, I hope there should be another episode up next week. I promise you that. Thank you all so much for watching. And, needless to say, I'm admittedly concerned. I'm like wondering if we can figure out what this password is. I doubt it, but I'm really concerned. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will definitely see all of you guys in the next video.